Okay, so the first question is how has your clinical experience and academic work in this space prepared you for the assessment? So I really feel that most, if not all, of the coursework was really relevant to this assessment in general. For example, the breastfeeding class is something that I'm constantly referring back to. I go back to the assignments, and for example, one of the client education videos, or not videos, client education things that we're doing at the assessment about expression, so hand expression, pumping, ways to feed. I did a full client handout on those exact things in the breastfeeding course, so I was able to just go back, pull it, look at it, make adjustments if necessary, and I get to use it for my assessment because it's the exact same thing. So that was so helpful to have a class that was directly usable to this one assessment. So that's really great. Also, I think of history of midwifery, something that may not seem like it was so relevant to this assessment, but it really was, mainly because it showed me why midwifery is the way it is locally and the history of it, which of course leads to why it is the way it is, and what I can expect and what kind of clients I can expect, how they may perceive things like midwifery and things like this. So that's really also super relevant to this assessment. There's one question, one of the oral topics about how midwifery is in your local area. So I refer back to that class a lot to think about why it is this way and have a better understanding of the whole thing. Of course, the anatomies have taught me so much, just how labor and birth happen anatomically and the hormones and the cardinal movements and just all of the things, and also how to explain it on to a layperson, because cardinal movements probably aren't something that I would share with a client unless they specifically asked about that. But it is something I share with my med student husband. So all of these classes have truly prepared me for all of the conversations, regardless of who they are with. So I also think about IV class. I mean, some of them are just obvious. The IV class obviously showed me what's necessary to set up an IV. Moving on to the next question, where do you feel you were best able to show your skills and growth in the assessment? I would say basically everything. This is only my third trimester at MCU, only my first trimester being admitted to the program. I graduated high school and did 2 years of engineering and then went to MCU. So I basically came in, I started being a doula my first trimester at MCU, so I was doing it all very simultaneously. And so I've really just showing my skills and growing in everything, breastfeeding again. I was never interested in breastfeeding the way I was interested in birth. But now, not only am I interested, but I feel like I know so much about it, or I at least know the basics. Now I have been able to help a postpartum mother latch her newborn baby and have been able to offer suggestions for comfort measures if she's engorged or mastitis or whatever it may be. So I also have this new approach to clients. I'm recognizing that their birth is their one birth. So what may be 20, 30, 40, 50, 1,000 births for me, it's only one birth for them. So how can I deliver the midwifery model of care to its highest ability, because this is their one birth, and I need to respect that for all clients and make sure that the way I'm treating them and the care I'm giving them, it's not their 1,000th birth, it's their one birth. So my greatest area of struggle in this assessment, I am such a list person. I like things in list and I like to go check things off. So I actually questioned, hey, is there a list that tells me all the things I need to know? And there wasn't. So I had to create my own. I just needed to go back and find the direct prompts, like educate a client on blank. These are your oral prompts. And so I created my own list. Since I've created my own list, which was just last week, I've completed all of my papers and my little note cards. So that is how I corrected my struggle. But that was a really big struggle for me, finding out what I needed to know, what I needed to do, to prepare, just in very specific, basic terms. I needed that, and that was a really big struggle. So, do I feel ready to move on? I do. I feel that not only have I learned, but I have found the way I learned. So if there's something I'm not confident on, I have figured out what I need to do to make sure I am confident in it, and have found ways to constantly be learning. So when I'm in clinic on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm paying attention to all the details and noting them so that when I'm asked a question, I remember, and and I've also learned how to ask questions and to not be afraid. I've learned a lot about client care and how to talk to clients. And in addition, I've learned very detailed specifics, how breast milk is produced, how labor and birth happen anatomically, and how to present these topics to the layperson. So I feel like once you can explain things in a 6th grade level, you have truly learned it, or at least understand how to learn it. Whereas if you're just explaining in technical terms the whole entire time, do you really know what that means? Maybe, but I don't. I typically know it best when I can refer it back in 6th grade terms. So I feel that happening. So it's great.